I want to tell you guys about one of the most effective yet simple ways to forecast revenue that you can do as an e-commerce leader. I actually came across this by looking at patterns from our customers at PenPath and seeing what are they doing and what are the trends that really correlate with where the revenue is going to be and where the revenue is headed. So after we've implemented this, we've started to teach it to our customers, and they started to have very accurate and predictable success. They were able to set their targets and understand what they needed to do to not only hit their targets but surpass them. And I want to show you guys what this 3-step framework is. So let's go ahead and jump into the iPad so you can learn more. This the PenPath 3-metric forecast framework, and the 3 metrics you're going to use, and I'm going to use my pencil right here to just kind of keep track of what I'm talking about. But we're going to use sessions, we're going to use conversion rate, and we're going to use AOV. And so these are very key to success. If you have access to these 3 metrics, you're gonna be able to do this. You have Google Analytics, and you have if you do Shopify. Or maybe your e-commerce app that you use other than Shopify may have some of these, right? But I would recommend, based on the data that we see, to utilize sessions and conversion rate from Google Analytics and AOV from your e-commerce platform. Now, this is a kind of your core starting point. That's really low barrier of entry that anybody can do at any time if you need to do a quick forecast. So basically, we're going to look at these 3 metrics, and we're going to do, again, from these different platforms. Quick nuances, we're just assuming that you have e-commerce set up for GA, and conversion rate in GA is called average, it's called a transaction rate. And then if you do want to use AOV in GA, let's just say you don't have access to Shopify, you're going to do average transaction value. So they have a little bit different names in GA if you didn't already know. But you can get all 3 from GA if you must, and you will use AOV from GA at different times as well. So I guess you ultimately want to get that source of truth from Shopify, but if you maybe want to know like the source, you're going to have to use GA's average order value. So just some quick helpful tips there. And so the equation's pretty straightforward. We got sessions, conversion rate, AOV. And let's just do an example real quick. So let's just say that you are forecasting 10,000 sessions. And let's just say we're forecasting 2% conversion rate. And your AOV, you think it's going to be, let's just say $42. And so let's create a timeline here. Okay, so here's a timeline. And let's just say that, we are right now sitting in November, right? So right now we're November, and we're trying to forecast December, right? We're trying to see where things going to be in December. And so what we're going to do, and here's what's worked for our customers, is we look at where are we right now in November, and where were we last year in November. And so if we can say, for any of these metrics, last year we were here when we look at the data. This year we are here for this November, and kind of see what kind of growth pattern we're seeing between both Novembers. Then we can more accurately set some targets for December that'll help us forecast revenue, right? So let's just say that, we've been trending at 4% conversion rate, and maybe back here we were at 1% conversion rate. Well, then we may not want to have 1% conversion rate for December. We may want to say that December is going to be at maybe more closer to 4%. So you want to look at December as well. Actually, I actually misspoke. But yeah, look at December. You can look at November. You can look at the change, but you also want to look at December. Maybe December is a little higher than November, and now you're like, well, maybe if we're at 4% right now, maybe we'll be at 4.5. So this is a little bit of the judgment that you have to make for these metrics, right? And so anyway, once you do this kind of exercise, look at the last year, look at last December. Look at November, look at where things are headed, and now you can set some of these 3 metrics on where you think it's going to be for December. So we're going to say 10,000 for December in sessions, 2% traffic, and 42 AOV. And if you multiply those out, you're going to say, so this is going to be 200, and then 200 times our AOV brings us at $8,400. And so now you've kind of forecasted a realistic expectation for December, if this was how many sessions, your conversion rate, and AOV you expected for December. Now you can create hypotheses, right? So the hypothesis here is, if we get 100 more sessions than this, all right, or you can do 1,000, but we're gonna keep it simple. So if you get 100 more sessions and sustain that conversion rate at 2%, and your AOV is at 70, then we can forecast $140 for every additional 100 sessions. So now you can actually have leverage to pull, right? And tell your team, I want to sustain this, I want to sustain this, and let's pay and see how much it's going to cost us to get this traffic, and see if it's, if it's making us money, if at the end of the day it's getting us this much more revenue. And that's how you forecast. It's pretty simple, like I said, and I mean, you can certainly take it farther. We're going to take it farther by segmenting, right? So whenever I talked about the first example, those were aggregated metrics. So those were total sessions that we were talking about and total conversion rate. But segmenting is when you break this down into more detail. And obviously, this is where you can kind of choose your own adventure in terms of where you want to take the data and how sophisticated you want to become with your forecasting. So with the source, maybe we know that same review that we did historically, we see with maybe Google Ads, right? So maybe Google Ads is typically at 5% conversion rate. Or maybe, I guess for sessions, let's just say we're expecting, based on what we're paying and our cost per click, we're expecting, 1,000, sessions in December from Google Ads specifically. And we know that, we're typically at 5% conversion rate. So down here for Google Ads. So we see Google Ads 5%, and then we know that this is where you would have to use GA. So important tip here for the aggregated forecasting, you're better off using your e-commerce platform. But for segmented forecasting, you may want to use your AOV from Google Analytics. So then let's just say your AOV specifically from Google Ads historically is maybe $70. So maybe it's way higher than your other ones, than your AOV from the other platforms. And so now you can have a lot of fun and say this times this times this, right? And then you can get even fancier if you know what your AOV from Shopify is by product, right? Or maybe your Shopify AOV by category or by customer cohort. You can do so many different things, and this is where I wanted to show you the simple formula, because no matter what, in aggregate, you can do some forecasting. And now it's up to you and your team how detailed you want to get. But anytime you want to get more detailed, just think of it through the eye of segmentation. Okay, so that's how you do it. Hopefully that is easy to understand. And yeah, so there you go. So anyways, that's how we would recommend you forecast and have a lot of success. It's been very effective for our customers. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Subscribe if you'd like more tips on how to use your data to increase profitability as an e-commerce leader. Till next time, I'm Alex with PenPath, and I will talk to you later.